it's meant to be the weekly and feel good day. So sometimes we have other subnets, we have special guests. But today is one of those days where this past month has been so overwhelming and so crazy. So Covenant's gonna hug the spot. So I don't know if you guys heard, but apparently those subnet 3 guys, they did something. So yeah, so I cannot even describe overwhelming it's unbelievable. Because, for me, I came into Bittensor with a lot of nihilism, and I found both Allah and Const to be very different from your usual crypto person in that they were still very tightly bonded to their missions. Then I found subnets, then this decentralized training. So for me, it's always been a lot more than just cash or money because you see, when I tell people Bittensor, do not come and build on Bittensor unless you're very serious, because there's a lot more EV positive, less hustle reward ways to make money. Bittensor is hard, but what does it give us? It gives us the hope of a future that is, automating consensus. So once you can automate consensus, you can have permissionless systems, you can have processes. So for me, it was pretty big. So just to recap to the people at home that don't have context, Covenant Labs is something we found just over a year ago, and we're dedicated to democratizing the access to creating, curating, and accessing intelligence. So we started off with Templar. Templar was pre-training. Templar is the oldest subnet we have, and it's the oldest protocol we have. But, it's definitely by far, I don't think it's the best. Like, whenever people ask me, where should we stake? I'm like, you're asking me to split my baby? Because they might all be 3, but it's all Covenant. And I think each of them play a very pivotal role in our goals. So what is our goal? Our goal is to own the end-to-end intelligence continuum from pre-training Templar, where we stuff the knowledge of the world into a base model, to post-training Grail, where we refine the neurons, we give it intelligence, we give it preference, we align it, and it will all be built on Basilica. So Basilica is the substrate, Basilica is the workers. And also, it's more how we see things, because again, as a rational human being, you always make decisions based on what you know. When I started Templar, I didn't think push trading mattered. But as soon as we understood push trading mattered, we started Grail. And luckily, we found the monstrous genius that is Irfan to join us, and he pretty much leads Grail. So, but why Basilica? People ask like, oh, you're competing with this, why you're doing that? And I honestly don't care. For me, I see what is in front of me, and you look at the future and look at other open source model providers. Do you think there's any moat in providing open source models? Of course not. Maybe if you have like billions or hundreds of millions of dollars, there is a long-term play in being able to eventually create proprietary products. But as a subnet, that all you do is create code that, even if you create software, there's no moat there. So that's why Basilica, in that, okay, how do we create these? We create these artifacts, we create amazing research on both subnets. But how do we capture value? We capture that value through Basilica. We capture that value by building stuff on technology on Basilica that takes those inputs of each of the subnets and allow value to flow through the system. So we'll go into value creation later. And for me, it's something further down the line, but we are starting to realize that. So, okay, cool. Enough of that rant. Let's go over what happened. Templar has no marketers. Well, no, that's a lie. We have Synapz. But if you know Synapz, he's not really a marketer. He's just a guy that writes really, really long form content I love. So what happened with Synapz is last year when I first started Templar, I was just looking for people, and I found Synapz, and I found his rights and his website, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is some undercover venture fund. They're so aligned with Bittensor and a couple of OG communities. They understand our hopes and aspirations. So I tried to find them. I emailed his GitHub. I pinged him on. He never responded. Then months later, he said hi. Then I got on a call with him because back then we never had a lot of money working. So I was always looking for people with that profile to OTC are not pure venture guys. Not because venture guys are necessarily bad, but the alignments are different. And especially for a project like Templar, where it's a moonshot and revenue is not anywhere near. So, you need people that are mission bound at that level. I mean, now we get different kind of stakers, but in the beginning, so I was looking for people to OTC and just talk to and just like get inspiration from him. Then I got on a call with him, and it turns out he's a lot more technical, but he's a marketer. That's just so normal. So I was really blown apart by that. So, that's how we got on the team. And honestly, yeah, so he's the only thing close to marketing we have on the team. I think with across all the orders, well, maybe 10, but Synapz is the only person. So take it back. We had completed Templar 72B, the main run, which was the product output of the subnet. We completed this in January, but then we had to write a report. We had to do SFT. Some things took a bit longer. So what looks like just a tweet or just an announcement was work we'd already done like 3 months ago. So for me, it was just, post a tweet, let's get moving. And then it caught fire. I don't know how, but it did catch fire. And what that did is it really elevated both our work and the work of the whole ecosystem. Like, I was so overwhelmed. Like, people are saying that Templar not only gave Bittensor legitimacy, but it also gave crypto legitimacy. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, I'm just one man. I barely write any Templar code anymore, but I still get very overwhelmed when I listen to like the fact that, wow, this is something that I vibe coded many months ago, and it's become this big. So that's been interesting. Then we got the Chamath mention. Then I thought it was all over. Like, whatever. Then we got the Chamath mention. Then that was also gave us more momentum. But through all this, things we missed. So some things we missed. The work Irfan and Grail have done, it is being used to train Composer 3 by Cursor. So, people miss how massive that is. People miss how massive that is. Some guy in a basement in Canada wrote something that billion-dollar companies are using. That is insane. So I mean, Templar got all the likes. Grail has like how many followers? Grail has like maybe 1,000. But do you understand how nuts it is that work that not we copied, we came up with the insights for this work, and it's being used to fine tune. Oh, hold on. Oh, Irfan's not here. He's because it's best to talk about it.
No, I'm here.
Oh, hey. Yeah. So Irfan, lovely. Yeah. So how do you feel? Like, isn't like, honestly, to me, that might be even bigger than the Templar. So what happened with Templar is actually quite funny, because when I look at stuff from a sheer technical accomplishments, I personally think Templar 1 was a lot bigger than all our work. But it's the latest work that got attention. I have a feeling Grail is about to follow that same path, because, dude, Chamath's talking about Templar, but the significance of Grail is mind-blowing. How do you feel about this? Your work is being used by billion-dollar companies.
I definitely feel really good. But one thing that I guess other people don't realize is that when that work happened, is that it was trained to train a 1 trillion parameter model, which means...
Wait, hold on. Say that again.
Okay, it was used to train a 1 trillion parameter model. Yeah. So what that means is that the same approach, right? Especially if we add more quantization and other stuff up, makes communication efficiency even better, can be used at the scale of 1 trillion parameter model. So that means that for what kind of scale, which is kind of like, it's crazy. That's kind of just gives us, when I built this, I didn't know it's going to be hold when we scale it to that amount, but we have proof that it is scaled to that extent. And because of that, we can make the model as big as we want.
So let me put a bit more color to what Irfan's saying. So you have a scaling laws. And what this represents is like how hyperparameters or different qualities of the system, how they scale with size. Now, especially with ML, very non-trivial things like hyperparameter sweeps are one of the most expensive things I've paid for, because you have to do a lot of experiments to figure out what are the ideal. Imagine a car or a spaceship. You need to figure out what setting for 100 buttons. That's what hyperparameter sweeps are. And they're so expensive. So I think we've only trained, what's the biggest model you've trained, Irfan?
Like the 70 billion? I mean, not on Grail, but
no, on Grail.
On Grail, like 12 billion, I guess.
12 billion. So between, I can't remember what the regimes are. I don't know what the regimes are for post-training, but I think you can use the same parameters from 0 to like 1.2 for pre-training. Then there's another regime. So basically, we didn't have enough money to experiment on what are the settings, what are the configurations that these things still hold. And we just wrote it, and Cursor pushed it all the way to 1 billion. So I think it's very, very interesting. But it also calls out something that, maybe you guys aren't thinking of it, but we need to start capturing value. You understand? We need to believe in our own madness. We need to understand, okay, now we built this, how do we capture value? Now, the problem is, at least Grail in its current form, unless Irfan and our scientific advisor do what I think they're doing, it's a lot easier to move quickly with Grail, although Irfan's just one person, though, that works like 10. But fundamentally, the way you do decentralized training and the way you do pre-training and the way you do decentralized post-training are very different. So in pre-training, the only thing you can do is to decentralize the trainer. And that's a lot more complicated. But in post-training, there's two steps. There's inference and there's training. But the inference is a lot more expensive. That's generating the rollouts. It's a lot more expensive than the training part. So we decentralize the trainer. But it's a lot easier to get the inference guys to behave than get the trainers to behave. So it's not easy, but relatively compared to pre-training, it's a lot easier. So we can move really quickly. So now we're thinking about how we capture value. And, again, one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to waste the team's time, Airfriend's time on building a product prematurely. Because I almost ran into that mistake with Templar, and I'm so happy I never did it. Because people ask you when revenue, you tell them, look, we're pre-revenue, but it doesn't mean our work doesn't have value. And I think, I've never said revenue is not important. My point has always been, if all you ever had was a hammer, then everything is a nail. The idea of a subnet, it's the epitome of heterogeneity. You understand? So how can you use one metric to measure all of them? Yeah. So that's my biggest point. So anyone that asks me for revenue now, I'll say, okay, like we don't have any hash yet, but in March, Templar did something that brought 2 billion to the ecosystem. So again, there's Chargon, there's Shoots, there's Liam. They're all pushing revenue, and they all have their value because again, we can provide speculative value for now. Eventually, we start to, technology starts to realize. But again, it's different actors in the ecosystem can carry the buck. So maybe Targon posts like, 10 billion, not 10 billion, awesome revenue numbers. We all work together to shape the Bittensor narrative. So that's what I did. But I have a feeling Grail might be the closest to actually getting the product. Because I can literally go on Grail now and just write an API and start selling it. But again, we need to understand if it's time to do that. Cool. So that's pretty interesting. Irfan, any other comments? Yeah. But where do you see us going next with Grail?
I mean, like what we want to do is a scale, right? We want to scale the infrastructure so we can be able to...
I don't like that. I don't like that. You sound like you're going to be asking me for more GPUs.
I'm actually trying to do everything efficiently, so I think there's not more than what I asked you last time.
Let's do MacBooks, please. I had some guys are training on MacBooks and it's cheap.
Yeah, okay, actually, cool. Like that's gonna be like more long term, but definitely we want to do that. Even like in the short term, I did some stuff with the proof like yesterday that maybe make us able to add some flexibility that we're gonna see. But like the whole thing is that also I think we want to release some really good open source models, right? To show that, the infrastructure works in practice. We can actually, in a decentralized network, we can actually build useful models, right? It's not going to be just like,
Why don't we just partner with Cursor? We do the hard work and we just give it to them and they trade billion. Okay. Yeah. I understand that. So that takes me to the next point that I want to touch on. People are asking, what's next for Templar? So when you start a lot of things, you don't know what you're doing. But you start to experiment and figure out, and you pick up better signals. Now, what this shows me, at least this past month shows me, is that the strongest, most endearing signals are awesome work. Do honest work. Do good work. Good work is how we got here. Because when I did Templar 1, it was like, it didn't get that much hype, but it sent the right signals, and I could find people to work with me. Because again, I don't have an ML background, but it was such an insane accomplishment back then. It still is now, because to date, no one has trained permissionlessly to that level. It's a year later, no one has done it. Like, people have done flash experiments. Like, oh my God, the OG lab guys are literally driving me insane. They have a paper where they claim to train 106 billion parameter models. And I promise I would like just leave people alone. But they keep tagging and like saying, you guys are excited about 74B. One, the actual training they did was like on 1 billion. What they did is they ran 106 for 4,000 steps, which is very, very tiny. Like, it's like 1% or less than like 0.05% of what you normally train for. They didn't run it over the internet. They simulated. So in Templar, I think we're doing like just any global connectivity. So the average is about like 44 megabytes per second. They took a 1 gigabyte connection and simulated the open internet. It's just not the same. You thought, so they're like, oh, people are getting so excited about 74, but we do 106. That's why these AI people look at crypto people like clowns. So we're never going to do that kind of work, because again, we're not trying to pump a token like we used to be. Like, we believe that the ultimate pump, do announcements, do silly work. It's never going to be us. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to demonstrate the whole Covenant value chain. So right now, Templar runs on, the old version of Templar that made SparseLoCo. It was good, but it's not the final form of decentralized training. What we have now is we had to have 20 B200s in the gather pairs. So that meant that because the current algorithm is the data parallel, and what data parallel means is that each participant has to be able to model into memory. So this is a bit limited because, first of all, B200 times 8s are so expensive, but also they're not that accessible. So what we released in January, actually, once we finish our run, is what we're going to be doing next is HeteroLoCo. So what HeteroLoCo does is that it allows us to combine data center compute with any kind of compute. Because one thing about compute is there's not a scarcity of compute in the world. There's a scarcity of well-networked data center compute. But if you can't reach out to the long tail, like compute that you think is deprecated, the 390s, the A100s, and with our technology, we can exploit the same amount of efficiency as centralized, then we can get so much more compute on the network. We can train bigger models. We can train faster models. So that is moving towards the eventual states. We're very pragmatic about how we get there. Training on max is cute. You optimize between what is hard, and what is practical. So I don't think that technology is practical anytime soon. And when it is, HeteroLoCo will be able to exploit it because it's just porting. We already have the code, it's just writing some MLX stuff. So that's what we're going to do. So hopefully we can raise our compute by 1 or 2 order of magnitude while still keeping costs down. So once we get this, we're going a lower model size, and we're going to put it through Covenant, through Templar, then hand it over to Irfan. Irfan's going to beat it up in Grail, and it's all going to be trained on Basilica. So I don't want to give any exact timelines, but it's very, very, very soon. Like that's going to be significant. And the end product is a model that can spell strawberry. Strawberry, like, dude, of course it can spell strawberry. Like it's only marginally better than a base model. It's trained on 5% of the token budget of the frontier open source models. It's not being RL'd because we didn't send it to Irfan because, again, we don't want to waste people's time. Because we're not going to put that as a flagship. It's not a flagship model. On the website, it's just something, it's just something cool. And also, the thing with RL, I'm not sure about SFT. Irfan probably knows that, but I know for a fact RL benefits from a very strong base model. So if I know my base model is not that strong, then why am I RLing it to so we're not doing that. But the next model we're training is going through the whole pipeline. It's going to be amazing. we're looking forward to that. Cool. Efren, do you have anything to add?
Not right now, but like we're working on a lot of different exciting things. So
okay, cool. Next up, we have Basilica. So Basilica is fun. And Basilica is one of the only places that they will allow me to code anymore. Like I've been banned from every other repo in the company. I submit PRs. But the Basilica guys, Evan helps make sure that it limits my blast radius. So what is Basilica doing now? Basilica is, so the North Star of Basilica is to facilitate whatever covenant and whatever Templar and whatever word comes out of Templar and Grail. But it's still a compute network. Now, the thing with compute network is once you sort out the economics, they can be immensely profitable because it's easier to realize short-term value. Now, the problem with compute networks in general, and I've said this a lot of times, is you pay token arbitrage. So for us in Basilica, the first thing we're doing is we're not doing arbitrage. And people might not like it, but we're never going to overpay a miner just because we want to do decentralization. It just doesn't make sense. One thing dTAO has humbled me is we came out of the root network. Bittensor at its very soul is crypto anarchist. Its miners' role is this. But it had to evolve because we had subnet owners, we needed the validators, and all these numbers, 41%, 41%, they're arbitrary. They hold no economic reality. So when we moved from root network to dTAO, we said, okay, let's put in the investor. But we all still talk like egomaniacal technologists, like nerds. Like, oh yeah, this is our world. This is our world. Not quite. And it's taken a lot of humility for me to get here. There are 3 actors now. No, there are 4 actors. Well, the validators are just, I don't know what validators sit because, a lot of times they can be seen as free riders. But in the core subnet unit now, there are 3 actors. There's a miner, the miner subnet owner. We've been dancing for a long time. We hate each other. But there's the investor now. I believe it changes the very dynamic of what the subnet should do and what success looks like for the subnets. Any subnet owner that says your job is not to return token holder value, dump on them because it's absolutely daft. It's insane. How can you be like, no, don't worry. It takes a lot of hubris to say, I was like that. So it's like, no, it's all my miners that matter. It's wrong. All my investors matters. It's also wrong because, there's this Henry Ford saying, if I asked them what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses. So as a subnet owner, it's an optimization problem. It's not again, I think miners are important, but do I think like they should be, do I think that, we need that whole 41% all the time? Definitely not. 100% not. I know miners on Bittensor that are making $2 million a month. Tell me what you're doing for that. It doesn't make any sense. But, it's also a very hard problem because people abuse it. So what is happening now is my peers of us understanding Bittensor and trying to lean into the primitives of this incentive design. We're treating it as, no, let's build a fat company and a very thin protocol so we can minimize costs. And this is very deadly. But at the same time, conversations of, we should reduce emissions by burn. Do you understand how insane that is? We're optimizing, like, again, burn, it's the smoke, not the issue. The issue is how do we get this subnet to produce value? You understand what I'm saying? So we're trying to optimize, okay, and we assume that burn or no burn is where the value comes from. But it's not where the value comes from. You understand what I'm saying? If Templar didn't burn, we're doing token holders at the service because we have to manage it. So I do that. Like I love miners. Like I think most of the people I talk to, apart from my team, they're all miners. But we need to be realistic. We need to be realistic. Otherwise, TAO is going to zero. If we cannot grow up, TAO is going to zero, and there's no way about it. So whoever wants to have that conversation, let's have it. But let's understand that burn or no burn, it is not what creates success. I don't really have the answer, but I know that if anyone comes to me that, oh yeah, we're going to tie your missions to burn, I'm like, why are you making this game harder for me? It's already hard enough. So why are you making it harder for me? So that's a conversation that, is probably evolving. But anyways, yeah, we're looking forward to it. Basilica we're really shaping up. We already have some revenue. We already have customers. And we're going to kick up, really, really kick up go-to-market efforts. Because I think it's a blessing. Because honestly, when you start with those things, they're broken. You have some customers. Oh my God, OpenClaw is such a headache. But it's given us a lot of feedback. It's helped us really, really hard as serverless offering. So we're going to be pushing hard on that. There's a couple of other things we're developing on that, which we should be dropping next week. And we're adding a new agent to our platforms. I finished the code for it. I've tested the agent. It really looks really good. So maybe sometime early next week, we are adding another offering to our agents platform. And we're also, before agentic became this hot, we've been building for it. So stay tuned. We've got a lot going on, and we plan on moving super fast. Oh, let me get Evan up. So first of all, Evan is an absolute tank. Evan sent me a message yesterday, and it made me so happy because it's where every company should be going. It's like, okay, I've done all my tasks. My agents are working on 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. Well, 8 tasks. I'll review them in the morning. We woke up this morning. His agents have submitted PRs. Yes, that's how we move quickly. Anyways, Evan.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
How's life on the trenches? I remember, talk slow.
Yeah, life. I don't know if I'm the adversary, against the machine, or the machine is against us, or somehow we are collaborating, but it kind of works out right now. So yeah, I mean, everything that you said is true. What I wanted to say is that the last time that, actually, I remember one of the first kind of spaces that we had, and we were describing Basilica as being the compute that is right there for the developer, and it feels like so native and all that kind of approaches. And then the agentic revolution happened, and now we're moving to the point whereby you're not just offering the compute right on the fingertips of the developer, but you are offering the compute and all the resources to the agent itself. And this is exciting because it has helped us grow as well internally, but also have lots of new features that are coming up on Basilica, pretty much agentic-native. So, yeah.
Okay. So we're about to close, but again, Covenant is moving towards accelerating the cashless skill. And I have spent the past 3 days in and out of deep LLM psychosis. And, we would love to open source our work on how we able to move so quickly. I mean, far quicker than we ever moved, very shortly, because I think, it's fun and it will benefit the whole ecosystem. So till then, till next week, everyone have fun. Come into our Discord. I'm telling you online if you want to talk. Thank you all for supporting us. We will speak to you next week. Bye.